Hi, everybody. Whoa, I was out in the wind today. 80 degrees with a 6-year-old boy and wind, and there's going to be, it's October, what is it today's date? The 23rd, with a 6-year-old boy playing with a ball. It's going to make your hair messy. Let's get right to some exercises, why don't we? Just a few. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is basically, did you memorize the paradigm of the chapter, let's do a couple of exercises real quick. I'm hoping that you are looking at this as page. Oh, let me get this closer. There, you're looking at the first part of the exercises. I'm hoping this wasn't too much of a problem. Taking a look at number 16 here. Come on. Taking a look at number 16 here, you'll see your first minor variation, and that's the A vowel underneath the MAME. You should by now be able to expect that even. But there's a couple of tricky ones over here in the next page, which is page 52, and that's number 18 is one of them. Let me comment on it here. This is going to happen to you as you get familiar with Hebrew and how the book is formed to help you learn. It feels like you're being tricked at first, but it's not really. It's trying to make you go slow and understand how things work. You just did this one, right? And you did a very good job on it. Call imperfect first, singular, common from shalach, right? And then you translated it in the future tense because that's what we told you to do now, even though it's not really future tense. But now you're going to get this thing here, shalachti, and you're going to kind of panic and not understand what's happening, but it's the same thing. And that's why we do this conjugation thing, call perfect, from the same root I sent in the past tense, even though the perfect isn't really the past. See, that's how that's working. So be on your toes for stuff like that, because that's really the task in biblical Hebrew, is to make these distinctions. Vocabulary will get you halfway there, but it won't get you any further than halfway there. Kind of the same thing in 21 and 22. It's the same root, as you can see, the mem, the tzada, and the ayin. There's the mem, the tzada, and the ayin. They're the same person, number, and gender. They're different conjugations. The 21 is perfect, 22 is imperfect, or the afformative versus the preformative, right? 23 is an interesting one because it has a minor variation, but I consider it a little bit more difficult than the rest of them, and that's this here, this echo vowel thing, you might want to call it, ya'avod. And so it has a more bulky feel than yiktol. It's ya'avod, right? And so it's just feels different. And that's the problem with gutturals, is they do feel different, and the Masoretes were very kind in preserving that different feeling. Here's that E vowel thing. If you have an A in the second syllable, for whatever reason, stative verbs do this and a handful of others. And so with the A vowel in the second syllable, this first syllable, it's really just one syllable, will have a short E sound in it, ne'ezak, right? You remember that? That technically is a silent schwa, but it's not. You can go write a paper and join the fray in determining how to count schwas as either syllables or not syllables or half syllables, and what does it mean if it's a half syllable, and does it count in the final count of the Masoretic text, and so on and so forth. Number 25 is testing to see rule of schwa B for gutturals, right? So check your paradigms. You would expect a schwa here like that, but you have two vocal schwas because this is a vocal schwa here because it's preceding a vocalic A form, right? So there you go. Number 26, toe call. This is, you have to learn a different paradigm for those five, starting with Amar. There's 5 of them, and 3 of them are very common, and here's one of the more common of the words, akal, to eat. And it's Omar, right? It goes Yomar, Tomar, Tomar, Tomari, Tomar, Omar. And then Yomarud, is it Tomerna or Tomarna? Tomaru, Tomarna, and then Nomar, Garcia, Paro. Okay, there's that, it has that OA feel in it, and that is some sort of unexpected shift that happens because the Aleph is quiescing, and that's up above in the book, just above. Things to look at there, and remembering, of course, that you have the perfect, which doesn't show any unusual thing. Yomar, again, a version of that. Tomarna, oh, there it is. And Omar, that's where you should have two Alephs, but because of the rule of doubling and acquiescing Aleph and the O vowel, it's just, and it's a guttural, so it doesn't have a dogish in it, so on and so forth. These things, oops, these things shouldn't be hard, honest. Just showing you, what I mean by that is, if you've done the work of Katal so far, it's not hard. This might be tricky, which is a little different than hard. And what you ought to do is keep after it and do repetitions. Don't ever write in your book or your workbook. Make copies somehow and write in the copies, and do it over until you finally get the right answer without having to be in doubt. Now, here's where we really make our money. We are going to write in Hebrew. This separates the wheat from the chaff, the true Hebrew student from someone who's just doing it for a little fun, because no one does Hebrew for fun. It is not possible. And let's just ignore that, and I'm going to switch over to the screen. He will learn. I'm just going to do the verbs because that's the real work here. He will learn comes from the root lamad. And I'm not going to do any work. What I'm going to do is yiktol, tiktol, tiktol, tiktali, ektol. And yiktol is the 3SM, the third singular masculine. And so I'm just going to import all these things over here. And so I see a yod, preform, a hirik, a schwa, an o vowel, yilmod. And that's pretty much it. That's how you should do it. So he will learn. The next one is they will make a covenant, and you use the verb cut. So let's put cut up there. They default to third plural masculine. And so you go yiktol, tiktol, tiktol, tiktali, ektol, yiktalu. And you write that one up. It's a vocalic A form preceded by a vocal schwa, yiktalu. And so I'm going to do that here. I've got my root, yik, re, thu. And there it is. Easy peasy. Okay? And then you just look up the vocabulary for the rest of it. We'll do some syntax in just a second. There really isn't much syntax in this chapter. Oh, we made a covenant. So we got the same root, karath. I'm going to double check to make sure I switched. I think I did. I did. Okay. Karath, we made. That is the call imperfect. Nope, that's not right. It's the call perfect. Right? It's the past tense. He wants a perfect. Katalnu. So let's get that one up there. Oops. Katalnu. And that one should be super duper easy now. Karath. Don't even have to change colors, right? Karathnu. Dogish there for completeness. Karathnu. And that's we cut a covenant. We made a covenant. We made a contract. Covenant is a theological word, though, so stay with covenant. There's an anime called ReZero, Starting Life in a New World, and it deals a lot with contract and with divine beings and lesser divine. You, plural masculine, will keep the covenant. That's from Shamar. So let's get Shamar before we get it. You, plural masculine. Oh, I made the cursive S. And I've got to make sure the dot's on the right side for Shamar. You will keep plural masculine. So it's a call imperfect. Try to make an F because you'll have an imperative and an infinitive. And so you need an IMF for imperfect. Call imperfect. 2 p.m. Okay, so what is that? Let's just go over to the plural side of yiktol, yiktalu, tiktolna, tiktalu. So let's write tiktalu up here for our paradigm. See, notice what I'm doing? I'm working hard at the paradigm. I'm not working hard at this at all. And so I'm going to get those over here. So it's going to be tish, meru, right? I think that's right. Yep. Tish, meru, tiktalu. Notice how I'm avoiding work at all costs. The only thing I've done in terms of work is looked up the vocabulary root for to keep or to guard, and I did my katal paradigm, and that's it. Yiktol, tiktol, tiktol, tiktali, yiktalu, tiktalu, tiktolna, tiktalu, tiktolna. See? That's all I wanted to do. I'm not trying to work at all. I will send the messenger. I will send the messenger. So send is shalach. I will send is the call, imperfect, first common singular, or first singular common. So it's ektol. And this is the last one. So my spidey senses are up saying, I bet you we're going to have some sort of trick or major variation or no major variations. We don't know any. We're going to have some sort of minor variation here. And voila, we are. So we're going to try to do eshlach. Sorry, I gave it away. Eshloch. But it ain't going to work because that guttural prefers A vowels. And so it's going to be eshlach. I sent. Okay, that's how you do it. Let's get down to the sentences here and skip. That's where your labor ought to be. I'm going to skip down to number 11, 10, 9. 9? Let's take a look here at 9. And I'll just read it to you. So number 9 is a good practice one. Lo ta'avarna habanoth ba midbar. And there's a handful of things to note. Right away, you have a negative particle there. So not. But just set that aside for now. And there's your verb. Parse the verb. It is the call, imperfect. And it is, well, it could be third plural feminine or second plural feminine. I'm going to check because it's a VSO language, verb, subject, object. I'm going to check in the subject position, which is right here. Do I have a third plural feminine noun that could be the candidate for subject of the verb? And sure enough, I do have the daughters. Right? So the daughters will not cross over in the wilderness. And that makes sense, but let's double check it by saying, well, maybe it's the 2PF. You will not cross over the daughters in the wilderness. That's nonsense, okay? So we go with the more sensible one and confidently put our answer in and hope that we haven't made some kind of a dumb error. You're basically trying to convince me that you know what you're doing. I don't want to make a new math joke. There are no right answers, only good attitudes. But the thing about language is, even though that clearly there's a right answer here, right? In language, you're looking at something completely foreign to your own mind, and you're trying to make sense of it. You're not trying to pass an exam in practice. When you're actually reading the Bible in Hebrew, you're looking at the thing and trying to make sense of it. And you make your best effort and you try to make a case for it. And you try to work with other people too. And that helps a lot. Now, the last one, the next two are easy. The last one is a bit of a trick. And it's useful to show it. So let's take a look at Hayinu la'am u'lagoy. Hayinu la'am u'lagoy. And switch over to my own app here. So let's get that off the board, and I'm going to write this sentence up, and I'm going to show you how I would do it if I were you, and it might work for you, it might not. Now, first of all, there ought to be a little bit of panic, because there's this two yods to cram together, and you don't see that very often. What was it? Le ooh Lagoy. It's still early in the game for you. I can see this right away, and it's not just because I have the book memorized, but because I've had a lot of practice. I'm not really that smart. It's just practice, and that's a repetition, repetition. Keep after it. Don't give up, right? All right, so I know Hebrew is a verb, subject, object language. I'm going to put that on the board. Verb, subject, object. So I'm going to look for the verb, and I'm not going to be blinded by chicken scratchings. I'm just going to look for the verb, and I'm going to look in the first place. Is this the verb? Well, let's see. It has a new ending, and it has an accent. That looks like a call perfect to me. And I'm going to say, well, it's clearly first common plural. I'm going to make a first plural common. I'm going to make an educated guess. I might not be right, but I'm going to make an educated guess here, and then I'm going to look up the root hayi. And somewhere along the way, because of repetition, I'm going to say, that's right. Third hey. This is the verb, not hayi. It's the verb haya. You can still see that. To be. And so I'm going to make a provisional translation for just this word. We were. We was. We were. Okay, good. Now, I could just stop right here and look up a vocabulary word, lamed, ayin, mem, but I'd be wrong. But instead, also, and again, this is sort of like, I understand you're new to it. There's just a million things coming at you each time, and stuff gets kind of shifted around in your brain. But there are a handful of things that are going to start to percolate and bubble up, and that is at the beginnings of words, you're going to see lamed, beth, and kaf an awful lot. Well, that's just the beth, lamed, kaf preposition prefix, right? You'll get used to it. You'll see it so many times it'll become second nature to you. And this is the preposition lamed attached to, I recognize that now, people. In a vacuum, I'm going to go ahead and just translate this provisionally to or for people. And let's say a people, so we don't have the plural of person. It's a people. And then lagoy. I don't see very often, but eventually I'm going to get, there's nothing else it can be. It has to be and, right? So that's and. So we'll put that up there. And then another another l, just like the one in the green there. So that's and to or for a goy, a nation. What's the difference between a goy and a nation? Not much. It's a Venn diagram. And the semantic field is over. So this is goy, and this is they overlap a lot, and the margins here are where the differences are. And I'm not going to bother to explain it to you because it's not that important for right now. Okay, let's get on with it. Yep. Okay, now I have a provisional sentence. Let's write it down and see what we get. We were to or for a people, indirect object, and for a nation, to or for a nation. I don't know. This is never going to work until you make a special vocabulary card. Haya plus lamed equals become. Okay? And so you can write the sentence now. We became. I'm just emphasizing the vocabulary word. This is not emphasis in the sentence. We became a people and a nation. The lesson here is don't let the chicken scratchings bedazzle you. Keep your eyes, with your nose close to the grindstone and consider the task at hand, each element by itself. And you might not get it right even so because there's still so many moving parts for you. but don't despair. Keep working at it. All the answers are there. And if you can't get it, just bring it to class and we'll work on it together and you'll have an aha moment somewhere along the way and it will come to you. Honest. Plug away and enjoy. I love this language and I love teaching it. And I hope that you learn to love it even if you're struggling against it. Let the current take you. Well, I understand. You don't learn a language by just going over the falls, do you? But enjoy the ride, and we'll have a good time together next time.